and take it again. I have given you the land. Rise up and contend for it in battle. Anytime God wants to give you an inheritance, he will put enemies around, so that if you can't survive in the midst of enemies, you are not ready for it. You won't even value it. He prepared a table before you in the presence of your enemy. Sometimes if you check around, you are only surrounded by friends. You are not wise. You can't go far. You need to be surrounded by so many enemies. You cannot hate yourself. You can't criticize yourself. You can't fight. You need enemies. When enemies trouble, they surround you. Just know that you are about to go up. Because how will God prosper a man without an enemy? What is your testimony? How can you have a testimony if things did not surround you? When men are talking about in the days when the garrison of soldiers surrounded us, and it looks as though we will not see tomorrow, suddenly the strength of God came upon me, and I took a jar bow of an axe, and I was able to defeat 1,000 garrisons. When David began to give his own escapade, this one give you be among them, and you're wondering, me, I did not do anything. No. When everybody is talking about how they were traveling, an accident happened and they survived. Somebody talk about how in their family, after every 2 years somebody died and they survive. Somebody talk about, so everybody is talking about how the kingdom of darkness pressed them beyond measure, and yet again they did not die, they survived. How? Because they wait at night to pray. You can't say anything because you are afraid of war. And because you are afraid of war, there is no testimony attached to your life. Do you realize that our life looks more sweet and bitter? But in the sweetness and the bitterness is what we are finding definition. When we talk about our story, how we suffer, you find hope. So what makes you think that your life will be of any interest to anybody if you don't go through things in life? So God will allow you go through the same warfare as some of us are going through, so that in the dead end when you start to speak, men can hear you. Because what is common among men is warfare. Peradventure your father is a reverend, your mother is an arch-reverend, your grandfather was an archbishop. All of them fought warfare. They have killed all the witches in your family. It's possible for you to wake up, you are in the beer parlor smoking igbo, and Jesus is still appearing to you. But there are people that actually came out of all kinds of obscurity. They are the only Christian in their family. Everybody is an idol worshiper. When that one stands to speak, many people can relate to that person. Why? Because that person came out of an example that is not common. You are a very holy boy, born from a Virgin Mary, suffer under Pontius Pilate, crucified, dead and buried, that your father went through. You are just nice. There was no warfare attached to your life. Your life will be sweet. Your story will not make sense. Even you will not like your story. One guy said he hate it. He said dangerous thing for a man to just be born, and they say there is 10 billion naira attached to your name. You don't know the value of labor. You have never been hungry before in your life. Even Jesus, the Bible says he was hungered and he was taken to the wilderness, tempted by the devil. There are things that are common among men. It's part of what we call warfare. In the days when you are hungry, no food to eat, is spiritual. Because I know the spirit that stopped that money from entering your account. They send money, it refuses to reflect in your bank account. After 2 weeks, you went to the bank, they check, they refresh. You enter your mobile app, you refresh, nothing shows. So you are subjected to spiritual warfare. A spirit held the money somewhere. It's like what we call the prince of Persia. When Daniel was praying, he was praying, oh God, hearken unto my prayer. A prince appeared, heard the prayer. So he was refreshing. Nothing was refreshing the mobile app. He downloaded the latest version, it still you. So he has to contend again. But in the day the angel appeared, say from the very first day you began praying. The talking of spiritual warfare that you understand victory at last. Victory at last. But one thing is certain, that you live spiritually. Because no anything that is worse than that can ever happen to him again. Because the challenge you are going through right now, that is a warfare getting across to your life, is supposed to build a template for you to be a deliverer for another nation. But if you do not go through this thing now, how can you be a deliverer for others? I have called Abraham your father, Sarah your mother. Look unto them. What was their life like? Came out of obscurity, they suffered, and out of that they were able to survive. They were so bad, they had nothing. In fact, the time came, Abraham began to ask God, all these promises you are promising me, who will inherit it? Don't you know I'm barren? In the Chronicles of the Spirit, God looked upon it as just a warfare. I have given you a child, but you have to rise up and possess it. In the day the Israelites were going through captivity, they were suffering. In fact, according to scripture, they were suffering in Egypt for 40 years. How many of us are up to 40 years here, apart from our mothers? For 40 years you are serving in captivity, no hope of returning, until one day God said, I have given you a promised land. A promised land that you need to go and overcome. But mind you, even this promised land, you cannot just go and overcome it like that. You have to go and fight again. So everything that God gives you, you will stay.